Sports Nonsense and Whiskey presents Smack Talking Raw. I'm your boy Pinky.
And I'm your man, the Rondertaker. Let's go, boys, and talk some wrestling.
Or Ronstradamus, as we like to call him.
Absolutely.
Oh. Hopefully everybody's having a good evening tonight. We've got a great first episode of Smack Talking Raw, where we are just going to talk some smack about Raw and Wrestlemania. I'm going to drink some whiskey. I don't know if Ron's drinking or not, but I will.
I got water today, Pinky.
All right, he's hydrating.
Keep it real.
He's hydrating. All right. We got our boy Caleb in the house as well. He is a familiar face. You'll see him on a lot of our other Sports Nonsense and Whiskey programming. He's here to join in and talk a little bit about wrestling. How we doing, my brother?
Fabulous. Love that we're expanding and growing and bringing in new wonderful faces to educate the people of the universe.
I tell you, man, I started thinking about, don't get to talk about wrestling enough on the sports cast because we just got so many other things to talk about. And it was like, well, who would I want to talk wrestling with? And it was like, Ron.
No brainer.
I messaged Ron and he didn't even think about it. He was like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get it. Let's get it.
So I appreciate you, Ron. Appreciate
you
joining.
Brothers. Cheers.
And I would one thing, we can start out with the first episode, and obviously we'll get the groove, but Ron, how did you start? Where did your love of wrestling come from?
Man, it was actually by accident. When I first fell in love with wrestling, we were going to a Dodger game back in LA, and I was 12 years old. And my friend John Gaddy, and if you're watching this, John, I love you because you got me hooked on this. And his parents told us that we could go get a magazine from the magazine rack instead of this liquor store. And when we're inside the liquor store, I go to one section, he goes to the other section. So he goes to the wrestling section, which I didn't know anything about. And I went to the Alfred E. Newman Mad Magazine section. And so he comes over to my section. He's like, what are you looking at? Come over here. He's like, who's your favorite wrestler? And I didn't know anything about it. On the cover was Sergeant Slaughter and Hulk Hogan. So Sergeant Slaughter sounded like he was the badass. I'm like, I like Sergeant Slaughter. And he's like, I like Hulk Hogan. He starts wrestling to me. I'm like, stop this. Right. And the whole thing. And so I started asking him prompting questions. I said, when does it come on? He's like, it's 9:00 on Saturday mornings. And the first wrestling event that I watched was Wrestling Challenge. And the Wrestling Challenge came on, and Roddy Piper hits Jimmy Superfly Snuka over the head on the very first episode of wrestling. And I was actually, it was WWE Superstar. Sorry about it. That was the first episode that I saw was Piper's Pit. And I was absolutely hooked 100% from then on. It was great.
Oh, man. That brings back memories. Caleb, what about you, man?
Man, I can't tell you the exact moment, but I know I grew up with a younger brother who's only a year younger than me, and we were always going at it in one way or another. And I just remember Saturday afternoon, all of a sudden, me, my brother, and my dad were watching some, WCW and WWE coming on at the same time, and the wars back in the day. And so I know for a fact it got to the point where my brother and I started doing some of the moves to each other, and my dad didn't think much of it until my mom scolded him for it. And then we had to start watching it on the DL. And dad was like, if I see you doing it again, then we're done. So just don't let your mom catch you. And it just kind of, bloomed from there. And then the fact that not so much now, but back in the day, once the Super Bowl ended, there wasn't a whole lot going on for the sports scene outside of basketball for my brother and I. So Monday nights were wide open for nothing. And when Raw took that time slot, it was a natural evolution for us to go from the Saturdays to the Monday nights. And then I've just kind of continued it since then, man. I've said it before. It's adult soap operas. And if you can't understand that and just enjoy the storyline and what they're trying to present, and you have to come at it with, it's fake, I'm done talking to you because you're not understanding. Yeah. the winner might be fake. It might be predetermined, but they're still jumping up top ropes and banging each other over the head. And, there's definitely a realistic aspect to it.
For sure.
Absolutely.
100%.
What about you, my guy?
What about you, Pinky? What's up?
Well, I don't remember an exact moment in time, but I remember it was like right around the Hogan Iron Sheik feud. I remember that. I remember Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan. I just kind of remember my dad just bringing me in, letting me watch. And then one of my best friends, Alex Villamar, and he'll probably watch this, I believe. We would actually try the moves. And I can tell you, if you don't put a figure 4 leg lock in correctly, it don't feel good. It hurts.
It does not feel, right.
So, there's a lot to go that you have to learn to do a lot of the moves that they do to make it to where it doesn't hurt. And most of the time you don't realize, how to do it. So wrestling is got aspects where they know how to hurt each other without hurting each other. Right.
Right.
And Alex and I learned the hard way that the wrong way to do moves. That's how we learned. So
yeah, my brother and I have some of those stories, unfortunately.
So, that was good stuff.
Love it.
Yes.
Love it.
So tonight is going to be an epic episode for our first episode. And that is, we're going to be recapping our personal favorite 10 WrestleMania matches. So I'm excited to share mine because on this list, I actually was at 5 of the 10 that I have here on this list. So I'm excited to share them. I'm going to give some behind the scenes on some of the things that went on with each one of my matches so that you can have a look. And then if you haven't seen these matches, I encourage you to watch these matches because they're going to do something for you internally when you get through watching them. Pinky.
And you can go onto Peacock or YouTube and literally watch the full match. So I recommend it. Once you hear it, you look at it. There is something, a lot of these matches, I went back and watched a couple just to like refresh my memory. Man, they still hold up. The story that they tell in the ring, the near fall pins and all that stuff. And even if you kind of know what's going to the outcome at the end, you just don't remember how we got there. It's still good. They all hold up. So absolutely go back. Peacock, they've got all the WrestleManias, or YouTube's got them. You can quickly watch the 20, 30-minute match.
I love that. Educate the people.
So
I'm gonna throw this out there real quick because I gotta jump off. I just wanted to come on and congratulate these boys on growing what we're trying to do out here for the people, and go back to if we're doing debates or sports talk or whatever it might be, there's a purpose and we're covering, a wide range of things. We're not doing Lakers, Yankees, Dallas Cowboys. All right. We're trying to be old Sports Center where you get all the highlights, you get to talk, you get to discuss, barbershop style kind of thing. So really proud of these boys for getting this going here. Give the people their education. And before I jump off, I know you're going to talk about it. I don't even need to hear the list because I'll be watching this later. But I'll throw out my number one. My number one's got to be I forgot the number. Ron, you'll give me it. But Undertaker, Shawn Michaels.
Oh yeah, 25.
Thank you. So Sweet Chin Music, the Dead Man, Cage, everything that goes with it, epic beyond all epic levels. Educate the people, like I said. Gentlemen, I will join as often as I can because I love chatting it up with both of you, especially with this because I don't really have anybody else to do this with. So it's a pleasure. But in the meantime, go do your thing. Proud of you boys, and I will talk to you soon.
Take care of your boy, my man.
Okay, fellas.
All right, Ron, as we're about to run through that list that you got, I'm excited to hear these stories. The one thing I've got to ask, when you go to a WrestleMania, like, what is the vibe like? What's it like being in the crowd?
I was at WrestleMania 12. That was my first WrestleMania, and that's the Iron Man match where Shawn and Brett fought for 60 minutes. And Boyz II Men, who didn't even get on camera for the national anthem, sung the national anthem, and I'm 11 rows off of from the ring at that time. And Boyz II Men was one of my favorite artist at that time. Shawn Michaels, my favorite wrestler. I got on video. So if you're watching WrestleMania 12, one of the things that we had to bet on when we were kids is not only do you got to go to WrestleMania, but you got to get on video. So at 2 minutes and 42 seconds of WrestleMania 12, if you zoom in, you'll see me with a sign that says it's Vader time. So in my very first WrestleMania, I'm in WrestleMania. So there's that. The vibe at WrestleMania, the best vibe ever was at New Orleans for WrestleMania 30. New Orleans and WWE and WrestleMania just go together like one big old circus. It was outstanding, but all of them are outstanding. They just have a different level of it.
Ron, where's WrestleMania next year?
WrestleMania next year. So we're 30, I said 41 this year. Have they? Oh, it's in Indianapolis next year, isn't it?
Not next year. I think Indianapolis has SummerSlam. I think, or no, maybe not. Indianapolis will get one, but it's not yet. Next year's in New Orleans, my man.
Oh, that's right. Let's go.
I've already planted the seed. The wife wants to come. She doesn't want to go to WrestleMania. She just wants to come to New Orleans. So,
right.
I've already got the pass. So we got to make it happen. All right, partner. So, let's start out with some of the greatest WrestleMania matches that don't quite make the cut. Okay.
So I'll start off with Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle, WrestleMania 21. The backdrop of that story is Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, is Mr. WrestleMania. And Kurt Angle is the Olympic gold medalist. And so they started having this bickering thing with each other because everybody knew Shawn Michaels is one of the greatest of all time. And Kurt wanted to take him on because he's like, I want to fight against the best, HBK. So the biggest highlight going into WrestleMania that year is I'll make you tap out. Sexy boy. Kurt coming down to the ring with the wig on and impersonating Shawn Michaels on the way to the ring. That was absolutely, I'll break your ankle off. He has this whole thing on. So when you're watching WrestleMania 21 and you look back on this match, definitely Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle, you definitely want to watch that match. That's an incredible match.
Refresh my memory. Was that kind of the start of Kurt Angle's rise where he started to really get to be one of the main eventers?
Kurt had already been a main eventer at that point because at WrestleMania 20, remember he fought against Eddie Guerrero in that one where Eddie actually retained. So Kurt came in at WrestleMania right after 17, like he was 16, 17 is when he came in. So at that point in time, he was really in his prime at that point.
Okay. He is fantastic. He is one of the best technical wrestlers. Bret Hitman, Shawn Michaels, Kurt Angle's up there. Those guys just put on such great matches. And Kurt Angle probably doesn't get enough credit. His ability to be comedic was really on another level.
Such on another level. Oh, my gosh. We need to do that. So that'll be one of our other shows. We'll talk about the best wrestlers with characters and stuff like that. Let's do that.
Okay, I like it.
Another match that is a must-watch is HBK, Triple H, and Chris Benoit, WrestleMania 20. That match, that's the best triple threat match. And I was actually there in Madison Square Garden for that match. And what was going on before that match started is Triple H and Shawn Michaels were in this feud. It started Shawn Michaels had come back to wrestling after being gone for 4 years. And they started a feud at SummerSlam. And they were just beating each other to death. They had a no holds barred, and they actually had a last man standing to where nobody got up at the Royal Rumble. So they were going to have a rematch at WrestleMania as the closeout for their feud. And Chris Benoit won the Royal Rumble. So when Chris Benoit won the Royal Rumble, he's like, Shawn, I'm sorry, bro, but I'm taking this match against Triple H. But at that time, Chris Benoit was on SmackDown. So it was the first time that a SmackDown superstar had came over to Raw. Well, Shawn Michaels ended up super kicking Chris Benoit, signing his name to the contract and making a triple threat match. And it became one of the greatest matches ever.
Which is tough to do with a triple threat match. Sometimes those don't really live up to the hype when you've got three guys trying to tell a story all together. Sometimes it just doesn't play well. So when it does, like, you just know it. Like, you see it and you're like, man, this is awesome. And all three of those dudes, you know, back in the day, Chris Benoit being, you know, unfortunately did some horrible things, but when he was wrestling at the top of his, you know, his prime, he was fantastic as a
Incredible,
wrestler.
incredible.
That's a really good one. I'm gonna throw one in
Okay.
to the top 10. I think, you know, when we talked it through,
You're in the top 10. You're in the top 10.
No. This one's outside. I think
Okay.
our top 10 kind of matches up for the most part. So
Okay.
I'm gonna let you tell the stories.
I actually have one more outside the top 10 after you too. One
Okay.
more.
I would probably put, and this is maybe fan service, I really, really liked the WrestleMania 40 main event, night 2, with you know, Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. And I thought what really put a really different spin on it is they had both been in a brawl the night before, where you had Roman and The Rock versus Cena and Seth Rollins, right? And so then night 2, you've got Roman Reigns and you've got Cody Rhodes again. And then, of course, with it being WrestleMania 40, you had to bring back some of the legends, right? And total fan service, but it was just the way that they did it. Cena coming in, The Rock coming in, The Undertaker, lights go out. You were there, you know.
I was there.
It just like the pageantry of it, and then of course the finish, right? And that's sometimes maybe it's not the greatest match of all time, but it creates a moment. And seeing Cody finish the story, that moment, and something you don't see very often, where all the dudes from the locker room came out
Yes.
and we're in the ring. And that's one of the things we'll talk about a little bit more next week. See, if you go back and watch it, John Cena's jumping up and down in the ring. He's so excited. So then now to see this turn later, this twist later, and you if you go back and look at that moment, you're like, oh my God, like he's so excited for Cody Rhodes.
Mm-hmm.
And then now he's not, like, now he's wanting to take the belt away from his chauffeur, right? It's a big twist on it. Maybe they didn't know that this was coming back then. Maybe they didn't plan it far enough in advance that he was going to do this. But that's just that just kind of lives in my mind of like seeing everyone out there so excited and just genuinely happy for a guy. You know, I don't think I could remember a moment, you know, Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston winning are other moments that you just really like live out in your mind of like, wow, that they did it. And you were, you know, whether you really like them or not, like you still like you enjoy that moment.
Right. The only thing about WrestleMania 40 that was really a tragedy is it was so cold outside. It was like we're having an outdoor event on the East Coast, and they should have known that possibility existed, because it took away a little bit from that moment. Because as much as we're watching and excited about it, it's like, I want to get to warmth now. Okay, he won. Good job. Let's go. Let's get warm. So some of that, a lot of us didn't get to see, and I know I'm not in the minority with that because it was just so cold outside.
Yeah, that's a bummer. I know for the way that WrestleMania has grown, you know, they used to do it inside, you know, basketball arenas, right? And now that's too small.
Yeah.
We can't do it there. We got to do it in these football stadiums. Well, some football stadiums are domes and some football stadiums are outside. And I think they'll probably take that into account, you know, if they ever did. I love Mile High, right? I think they should do a large wrestling event at Mile High, but that's probably a SummerSlam, not a WrestleMania, right?
Right, because you can't run the risk of having snow, because that they had that in the forecast when we were in Philadelphia. They're like, it might snow, and it's like, can you imagine like they're walking to the ring in the snow?
Well, here in my mind, I'm thinking about a Gunther chop at less than 40 degrees. I'm out, man. I'm out.
Yeah, you got to pay me way more, Triple H, right? Okay, my last one to close out, and I had sent you my list, and I since recalibrated one of my things that were in the top 10 and moved it outside of it, and that is Savage versus Warrior WrestleMania 7. Savage versus Warrior WrestleMania 7, it was a retirement match. And how that match came about being is that At the time, the Ultimate Warrior was the world heavyweight champion, and Randy Savage was jealous of him. So he cost him the title against Sergeant Slaughter at the Royal Rumble and beat Warrior down. And so they were like, these two people cannot be in the same federation anymore. So they had a retirement match. And it had great wrestling, but on top of it, it was the reunion of Randy Savage and Elizabeth at that time, who hadn't been on screen for like 3 years at that point. Elizabeth was just subtly put in the audience, and then all of a sudden Sensational Sherry is beating down Randy Savage, and Elizabeth comes out and throws, and the women are crying and the whole thing. It was a great moment in WWE. It's a moment, just what you're saying.
It's a moment. Again, when you create that moment, sometimes that's better than the match, right?
Right, itself.
So,
all right, let's get a top 10. Let's do it.
Let's get into this top 10, Ron. What do you got at 10? What's number 10?
At number 10, I have Undertaker versus Triple H at WrestleMania 27.
Man.
That match was a no holds barred, and it was a follow-up to their WrestleMania 17 match, which was in one of the greatest WrestleManias, if not the greatest WrestleManias, WrestleMania X7. They came to this match, and this was a match that was absolutely brutal. This was at the time where they had the Raw general manager, where Triple H throws the Undertaker through the Raw general manager's little cage that he had, and Michael Cole had the cage. Go back and watch this match. This match was brutal, and they had to carry the Undertaker out in this match during WrestleMania 27.
Right. He won that match, of course, but I saw clips of it where they literally they're taking him off on a cart. He could not stand after that match.
Right. That was incredible. I was not at that one. That one is one that I watched on TV just like you. How about your number 10?
Well, again, I had Savage and Warrior on there, so I think we covered that. So we're just gonna go down your list and see where we're at. All right.
Okay. The next one is the TLC 2 at WrestleMania 17.
See, and I would almost put them together.
Okay.
You got TLC 1 at 16, and that was the starting point. And before you talk about 17, which 17, you could argue is one of the greatest matches of all time. I think you could put it in the conversation at the very least. I remember TLC 1, TLC 2, and literally to this day, I don't know if there was a better time for tag team wrestling when you had the Hardys, Christian and Edge, and the Dudleys all together. Because all three of those teams, you could literally make the argument they're one of the greatest tag teams of all time.
Yes.
And to see them all together, they worked so well together. You've had the brutality of the Dudleys. You've got Christian and Edge, which are a little more technical. And then you've got the high-flying Hardys. You've got just, groups that do different things and play off of each other so well that for them to put that match together, put it all out on the line, do all the crazy things that they did. It just so good.
In honor of Edge and Christian, 5-second pose. All right, that was my favorite tag team back in the day because they were comedic and they were great wrestlers at the same time.
I could not. I had a hard time choosing between all three of them, man. I loved them all. Yeah. I thought they were all just super cool. I probably did gravitate more to the Dudleys because, again, I'm a big fat guy myself. And the fact that they made being a fat guy fun, I love that. Devon, get the tables. So good. And then what they did, again, they really put all their bodies on the line on TLC 1, and then TLC 2 they took it up a notch. Tell the people about it, Ron.
I think that I see, before I get into that, I'm going to tell you that I see a Halloween gimmick coming up. Testify.
Oh, yeah.
So I was at TLC 1. I was at WrestleMania 2000. And it was something that we had never seen, just a complete, total train wreck. Jeff jumped off of the biggest ladder I've ever seen in my life, right in front of me at WrestleMania 16. It was incredible.
Oh, when he hits Bubba Ray,
Yeah,
he does that swan dive off the top of that ladder and hits Bubba Ray. I genuinely was like, oh, Bubba Ray dead.
right.
He dead.
He's dead.
You know?
He's dead for sure. And so what makes WrestleMania 17 a little bit better and puts it actually on the list is it's hard to follow up the original. And they did. I mean, you got Jeff Hardy holding on to the tag team belts high above the ring. You have Edge come and spear him off the top rope. And you have to coordinate that, these two separate incidents happening so that you don't kill each other. And they did it flawlessly.
We saw one of the best spears this last week on Raw with Braun Breaker. Yes. And he goes through the air, and you can almost argue he gets more air after he hits Carlito, which is crazy. And even that, I would still say that spear to Hardy is crazy because they were so far up in the air, and to spear him, and again to hit it just right that neither one of them injure themselves.
Right.
Ooh,
unbelievable.
Again,
unbelievable.
You're just an inch, just a centimeter. If you hit it wrong, you're done.
Right, because Jeff is holding on to the belts. He has no control over his body because once the spear happens, he's just got to let it happen. And you're in front of 70,000 people inside of an arena with an adrenaline rush. Anything can go wrong.
Oh, man, so good. For me, I'm going to be honest, TLC 2 is probably my favorite match of all time. It really is. Of all time. And I think it's the chaos. It's the three tag teams I really loved watching. That to make that work takes great chemistry, takes great planning, and a whole different level of execution.
Yeah.
Because we've seen tag team matches, we've seen six ways, we've seen all these different things that go kind of awry because it's so hard to get that many moving pieces working together. Right. To make it so good. And that's where, for me, that's why it's like it probably is my number one match.
Okay. I like it. I love it. I love it. It's hard to top that one. As a matter of fact, I got to go back and rewatch that one again. That was fantastic. Fantastic.
Absolutely.
The next match, number 8, and I was there again. Rock and Cena, WrestleMania 28.
Was this
once in a lifetime?
Refresh my memory. Was this so? There was Rock and Cena, where Cena lost, and then the following year there was Rock and Cena again, where Cena won.
Correct.
Was 28 the one that Cena won?
He lost.
He lost. Okay, so that's the one he was sitting on this, like he was sitting on the ramp, like just almost about to be in tears.
Yeah, and the greatest thing about this is the WWE put a year lag time on this match. It was announced right after WrestleMania 27 that the night after WrestleMania 27 that John Cena and The Rock were going to have a match, and these two had beef with each other at that time. So what happened was Rock was coming back, and John Cena's like, "You've been gone. Like,
right.
How are you going to come back here and say anything about it?" And that's where he made the quote about him having his lines on his wristband and everything like that. This is like when wrestling was unplugged, like John Cena was going at The Rock for real.
And I remember Twitter had started getting hot at that time, and they had a battle all over Twitter, which was amazing. So they definitely did a great job, which is tough to do. It's tough to build a match for a whole year. And then it's tough to be able to plan accordingly of like, okay, how many times do we have Cena come in and talk crap? How many times we have The Rock? How many times we have them both? That's tough to do. They did a pretty good job of really lining that up and getting that anticipation.
Unfortunately, they aren't doing such a good job of it this year because like all of a sudden at Elimination Chamber, we have one of the greatest angles ever in the ether.
I have a big issue with it, Ron. And I think we'll have to make that a talking point for next week. I think that for me, and I'll go into more detail, The Rock coming in a week before Elimination Chamber, becoming a main focus, a crazy, just a crazy shift in what's happening in the WWE, and then he's disappeared since.
Yeah,
like that is a misstep in my opinion. So,
and I had made the prediction, which I feel that I'm going to be wrong now. And if you look at it now, you would see where it would elevate the match between John Cena and Cody Rhodes and make the stakes for the triple threat so much better. And that would have been if John Cena would have attacked Jey Uso for beating him at the Royal Rumble and making him not able to compete for the World Heavyweight Championship, and then making the match for the triple threat for the number one contender to fight against Gunther at WrestleMania. That's how it should have played. Hunter, Hearst, Helmsley.
I mean, Hunter can get better. Hunter can get better, right?
Yep.
It's a tough job. It is a
Yeah.
tough job. So, what do we got next on that list? What's number? What do we got? 6?
Number seven.
Seven.
So number 7 for me is Brett and Owen Hart, the opening match of WrestleMania 10. That
Brother
match versus brother.
Brother versus brother.
And it was an incredible match because later on that night, Brett went on to win the World Heavyweight Championship, which was incredible. He lost the opening match of the night and then ended up fighting against Yokozuna later on in the night to make up for WrestleMania 9.
Wouldn't you say that, like, I mean, those two dudes were two of the greatest technical wrestlers of all time. Like, they knew how to do it, man. They really did. Like Bret Hart, dislike Bret Hart, like Owen Hart, dislike Owen Hart. Those dudes could wrestle.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like, for me, whether I like your character or not, whether I'm vibing with it, if you're a really good wrestler, I'm gonna give you respect. And those two guys absolutely are top notch.
I think that back in the day, the old regime just really didn't take Owen seriously. But I look at some of his matches, even when he was wrestling as the Blue Blazer with Coco Beware. High Octane was their name at that time. He flipped around and he would do all these different flippity flop things. Then he did the Blue Blazer thing. Then he was with the Nation of Domination. Then he was with Yoko. He did so many different things to make himself stand out. And he just never got that upper level push, which was a tragedy. In addition to the tragedy.
In addition to the tragedy, absolutely. R.I.P. Owen. What's
all right.
next?
So the next match is The Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar from WrestleMania 30. It wasn't a great match, but it's historic relevance at that time. I was in New Orleans, inside the Superdome, and you could hear a pin drop when the Undertaker's streak was over. That was absolutely, it was insane. People didn't talk for 20 minutes. Undertaker left the ring and they clapped and everybody just sat and looked at each other like, did this really just happen? Oh my gosh, this is right for 20 minutes.
So where are you at on that decision? Was that the right decision for, this situation to have Brock Lesnar win? Because the argument's there that he didn't need that push. He already had it. Just being the beast incarnate, being who he is, he was already that guy. He didn't need the push like that.
Well, what happened after Brock became champion is wrestling had more, because so to go backwards in time, right? You have to look at what was going on in the moment. So WWE had just signed a $5 billion contract with Fox, and they were going to try to make wrestling more of a sports-oriented conversation at that point in time. So with getting Brock to have the belt on him, it made it more appealing to Fox that they have somebody that's a natural fighter, somebody that already has the prestige of being a UFC champion, etc. as champion. And then Brock went on to decimate John Cena at WrestleMania 30, and it ultimately led to Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 31, which was a continuation of said opportunity. In my opinion, it was a great move by the previous regime, for sure.
That's a tough one for me. I don't think Brock needed the push like that.
Right. They could have done it for Bray. They could have done it for a lot, because Bray, unfortunately, he never got that baton passed to him like that.
Another RIP, man. Another guy gone too early.
Yep.
All right, what's next?
So the next match is Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant from WrestleMania 3.
Oh man, this is so good.
So good. Go ahead, break it down because I know you love this match.
I love this match. It's probably one of the matches I remember. I went back and watched it. Again, from a wrestling standpoint, right? It's not got all your technical wrestling. It's more two gigantic individuals. You know, Hulk Hogan is a really big dude. Andre the Giant makes him look like a small dude.
Yes.
Like, and I would say that Andre the Giant, unfortunately, you know, his wrestling career was coming to an end by the time this match happened. They had to pull him back to make this happen. You know, he had traditionally been a babyface for the most of his career because he's a lovable giant, and that's who he was in real life. And they kind of made him they tried their best to make him a real villain before this match. You know, Andre the Giant's never been slammed. Andre the Giant this, and he was trying to come after Hogan, and you just see all that. But just when you see that sheer size, and he making a gigantic guy look small is hard to do. And they made a pageantry of it, good versus evil. If I remember right, this was at the Pontiac Silverdome.
Yes.
And which was like what 90,000 people, like sold out.
93,000 folks up in there for sure.
Yeah, just crazy. They actually brought them down to ringside in like a cart that had like a little rope, little rope thing that they brought them down in. It was a true spectacle. You know, you see Hulk Hogan, you know, actually slam him. You see him do the leg drop. I want to say it's not a very long match overall. Hogan again is kind of down for a lot of it at the beginning, and then you know does his normal shake his head and no and fights back. But I think it's a big memory for me from my childhood, but two, the importance of that match. Yes. I feel like that was like that first real match that put WWF on the map on a more, you know, maybe not
on
quite
a global scale,
maybe, but at least throughout the United States, people were talking about it. Yeah. People were like, oh my God, I want to see that. I've got to see that happen. And so I think that's where you really started to have Hulkamania really go crazy, where now you've got them on cereal boxes and you've got the little toys. And, you know, from then on, Hulkamania was in full force.
I 100% agree. And, you know, the thing that I always remember from that match, because I was just I was last year in middle school. And so I had all my friends over at my sister's house, and it was really cool because my sister, she was cool. She was like my older sister, 13 years older than I am. So she was like 26 years old. And we're over there watching WrestleMania at her house. And it was just like a cool moment for the little bro to be over at sister's house and everything like that and just watching wrestling. It was really cool. Really cool. But Hogan got pinned. Let's talk about that. WrestleMania 3, Hogan got pinned in the first few seconds of that match. Joey Morales, in the first seconds of WrestleMania, if you watch it, Hogan was down. Andre fell on him, and that was a pin. But they covered it up by saying, no, there wasn't a pin.
So I think they edited that part. I think they changed the angle of it. Because I don't remember seeing that when I rewatched it.
A Mandela effect. Got it. I totally remember. I thought that Andre was the champion right then in the first 5 seconds of the match.
Now I'm going to go back and rewatch that to see if I can see it, because I just watched it this week and I just don't remember seeing that. I remember seeing Hogan he got his ass kicked for at least the first 5 to 10 minutes of the match. And then that's when the tide turned.
Morella go like this. Like he goes 1, 2, 3, and he goes 2, 2, 2. And Hogan's shoulders are clearly down when he's doing the 2. And everybody was like, no, Hogan lost. And they're like, no, he didn't. Anyway, so number 4 match of all time. So we're getting to the nitty gritty here. So the number 4 match of all time, and forever, it was the number 1 match. and that is Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus the Macho Man Randy Savage from that same WrestleMania 3. That match will stand the test of time forever. It will always be in the top 10.
Oh, man. Both of those guys were fantastic. I did watch that this last week as well, going back, because I was like, I remember that. I remember Ricky Steamboat a lot. I know him and Flair had a good rivalry. And then I was like, oh, Macho Man. This is Macho Man, like, really, between, I think WrestleMania 3 is 87, between like 86 to like 95, Macho Man is just awesome.
Yeah,
like everything he does is amazing. He definitely slowed down as he got older, which again, as these guys' bodies kind of break down a little bit, that happens. But in this match, you see both of these guys in their prime, jumping off the top rope, doing Ricky the Steamboat Dragon's hip toss is fantastic.
Fantastic.
You've got, what's her name?
Elizabeth.
I don't know how I forget Elizabeth. Elizabeth out there. She plays into it. It's kind of funny that George the Animal is out there for Ricky Steamboat, and that's kind of a weird dynamic out there on the outside as well. Macho Man trying to grab the ring bell, right?
Well, that's because at the back in October of 1986, the Macho Man, his favorite move was off the top rope to the outside, and he put Ricky Steamboat's neck on the old rails, not the new rails that they have where it's padded, but the old old barricade rails, like when the police come in and put the barricades. And he comes with the ring bell and hits it on Ricky Steamboat's throat and his larynx. And Ricky Steamboat was in the hospital for a long time and everything. So that's a reference to the match of the ring bell. That's where it came from. He had used it on him before, so he was bringing it out again.
Yeah, that's definitely a match, and it had been a long time since I'd watched that match for sure. It still holds up.
Yeah.
It still holds up. And I think that's what, like today, I think we're used to a little bit more athleticism from the wrestlers nowadays, right? There's dudes that are 260 that can jump up onto the top rope. Right? They don't even have to climb. They can just jump up onto the top rope. Right. We definitely didn't have that athleticism back in the 80s. But to see these guys move around as well as they did, up, down, it was a good 30-minute match. Fantastic. Great call, Ron. Great call. Love it.
Now we get to the nitty-gritty. So these are my top 3 matches, and I was at 2 of the 3 of these in person. So we'll start with number 3 of all time. I don't care what the lists say that you see online. This is number 3 of all time, and you go back and watch this match, and you will know. Undertaker versus Triple H, WrestleMania 28, Hell in a Cell, with Shawn Michaels as the special guest referee. That match, you had DX essentially versus the Undertaker inside of the Hell in a Cell. How does Triple H lose that match? Undertaker told Shawn Michaels, "You call this match pure. If you do anything other than that, I'm going to take you out." So if you go back and watch that match, the amount of drama that was inside of that match, the amount of near falls and everything else. And this is in the middle of WrestleMania 28. It wasn't the end of the match, wasn't the beginning, it was in the middle. It absolutely stole the show from The Rock and Cena. It stole the show from CM Punk and Jericho. It stole the show, the entire show, the Hell in a Cell.
Which you could probably make the argument that it if not the main event, it should have been right before the main event. And that's probably why the match was so damn good. Is they were like, whoa, wait a minute. We shouldn't be in the middle. We should be towards the end of this thing. We're going to show you, And I think sometimes that's, sometimes you get that from these guys, right? They have a lot of pride and they want to be like, you know what? We're going to put on such a good show. You got to try to follow this up. Let's see what you got.
See what you got.
And to have 2 of the guys, like, again, Shawn Michaels, Mr. WrestleMania. You've got Undertaker, who's the king of WrestleMania, essentially. And then you've got Triple H, who was in his prime at the time.
Yes.
God, I mean, that's just... And Triple H if he's not on my Mount Rushmore, he's pretty close. I really love that guy.
Yeah, looking back at some of these matches over the last couple of days, it's like Triple H put on spectacles all over the place with regards to matches that he was involved in. Incredible.
He really
wrestling.
did. He and again, I love his comments about getting inducted to the Hall of Fame, which he will be next week in Vegas. He's just like, well, I'm kind of running the show, so I can't vote myself into the Hall of Fame. Somebody else has got to do it. So I'm glad they made that happen for him. This next match, I think, if it's still going by the list that I have, this match is getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. It's a new thing. They're inducting matches now.
Right.
Tell the people.
Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's the bottom line versus the best there was, the best there is, and the best there ever will be. Bret the Hitman Hart. Number 2 all time.
So I watched this match. I rewatched it this week because I was like, I could have swore I remembered it, but it wasn't super clear in my mind. Holy shit. Those guys went at it. It was fantastic from start to finish. You've got a lot of the technical wrestling from Bret. You've got the brawling from Stone Cold. So you've got two, again, they're two different styles coming together, right? And they've got to work together. And oh my God, did they work so well in unison and all the different things. I believe Stone Cold grabbed electrical cord at some point.
Yeah. And choke Bret.
You've got,
and then we have Ken Shamrock. Ken Shamrock as the guest referee.
Right, Ken Shamrock, and I forgot how jacked that dude was. Man, he filled out that referee shirt. He was stacked. Good Lord. So he called it clean too. He did a good job. But yeah, fantastic, great call, Ron. You weren't at this one though, right?
I was not at that one. This is the one I was not at. But the number 1 match of all time WrestleManias I was at, and I was dressed like Shawn Michaels at that match. And there was a dude across the aisleway that was dressed like The Undertaker at WrestleMania 25. And the crowd was 50% Shawn Michaels, 50% Undertaker, and everybody was screaming, Undertaker, HBK. It was like as loud as you can possibly say it. And it was that match. If you look at it, there were 8 segments to that match. It was a 32-minute match. And each one of those segments for 4 minutes was each incredible if you break it down. Shawn jumping off the top rope and the Undertaker slamming him down to the mat. Shawn trying to get some strength on him. They do each other's moves on each other. They do right. They do all the things to make this match fantastic. And Shawn just miscalculates doing a somersault backflip on the Undertaker, and the Undertaker catches him for the win. That match will stand the test of time. It'll always be a top 10 match for the history of WrestleMania.
Now, is it a top 10 match, not just WrestleMania, but top 10 match all time as well? Is it in that conversation?
I would have to say that it's in the top 10 matches of all times. Yes.
Perfect. Because there's WrestleMania. There's a lot of different places to have these great matches. Sometimes we get really crazy good matches on other premium events. WrestleMania just happens to be one that we should get the most of, right? Because it's it's the Battle of the Immortals, right? The showcase of the Immortals. So, damn, that's a really good one. Now, again, it's not crazy to think that was such a great match. You've got the Undertaker, who's already been on this list multiple times. You've got Shawn Michaels, who's been on this list multiple times. If I was in that crowd, I don't know who I would have shouted for because I love them both. I've enjoyed watching them both. I will never forget when Undertaker first started and he would grab someone by the arm and he'd get up on the top rope and he'd walk down that top rope and then hit him. And I'd be like, how does a guy that size do that? I'm clumsy as hell. So I'm thinking if I get up on that top rope like that, I'm falling backwards. He never fell. He probably fell in a house show or something, but for the most part, he was able to do that clean every time. And for a guy his size to be able to do that is pretty amazing. So I was always a fan of the Dead Man. And then Shawn Michaels being Shawn Michaels, it's easy to hate his persona. I'm too sexy, all that. It's okay, but like I don't know how you can't watch him wrestle and just be like, wow.
Wow. Right.
Love the character or not. Like, again, coming back to the respect factor of like, wow, what is that guy doing? So,
there's a couple more matches that come to my mind as I'm thinking about it. Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, not a technical wonder, but just I'm sorry, I love you.
That is a moment that like literally I don't have to even watch it. I can see it in my head right now. When Shawn Michaels is in that corner and he goes, I'm sorry, I love you, and then kicks him. Like that moment plays in my head. Like it's crazy. That created such a moment like that to me, like that match is great, even though, and again, I think Ric Flair actually Shawn Michaels did a great job of allowing Ric Flair to do a lot of his stuff, get over on him for a long time of the match before he finally ended it. It's really good. That's definitely one to watch. Let me take a look real quick. What else? No, I think the only one maybe we didn't have on here was the Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hitman Hart match. That was a damn good match too.
Yeah, and I was there. That was an incredible match.
It's so hard when you get so many of them over 40 WrestleManias that it's hard to pick, the top 10. I would challenge anyone to be like, you can make arguments with anybody's top 10 of these matches because there's so many really good ones. I don't think we talked about, there was that triple threat one with Daniel Bryan, Batista,
and Randy
Orton. That's a fantastic one as well.
Earlier in that match, Triple H versus Daniel Bryan, to see who would go into that match, was an incredible match.
And then Daniel Bryan ends up winning, right? And he's got both belts at that time, I believe.
Yes.
So
and then another one that everybody should watch, and this is something that there's two matches that everybody should watch, and you would never think about watching it, but you'll love it. So number one is Floyd Mayweather versus The Big Show. That match was incredible. That match was incredible. And the second one is on that same one is Fit Finlay versus JBL in a street fight on that same WrestleMania 24. That was an incredible match. Hornswoggle got dominated with the trash can sitting at ringside by JBL. Like I just said that to you. Remember King Kong Bundy squashing Little Beaver? Well, Hornswoggle got that with a trash can.
Oh man, I am so excited for next weekend. So excited to talk about WrestleMania 41 with you next week. We've got a few minutes left in the show. I did want to ask you, and this is kind of something new. How are you feeling about Kevin Owens?
Kevin Owens is my Owen Hart of this era. He is so incredibly talented. He has all the move sets. He can change personalities in a moment's time. He's never going to be your friend for very long. It's devastating that he won't be at WrestleMania this year.
I wouldn't say that I get too broken up or sad, but I got to be honest. After seeing, I think he's been in two of the best matches of the year so far. His match against Cody Rhodes and then his match against Sami Zayn. To know that he was in those matches with a neck injury already is crazy. And I feel for the guy because he's amazing. They're talking 2 to 5 years.
Out?
2 to 5 years out.
Wow.
Based on the neck injury that he has. So it could be a while before we see Kevin Owens. And one of the things about, as he's been in the game for a very long time. And as we know, your body can only take so much
Mm-hmm.
to where it finally gets to a point. It's like you can't quite do it at the level that you want to do it at. That again, are you putting out the best product? I will remember Kevin Owens. He's always been amazing on the mic, and he always puts on great matches. I was listening to an interview with him earlier this week, or actually it was earlier today when I was playing WWE 2K25. Shameless plug. And I was listening to it while I was playing, and he talks about like he met Stone Cold in the airport before a flight, as him and Sami Zayn were getting on a flight to go wrestle on an indie show, and he asked Stone Cold for what advice would he give him, and Stone Cold say, "Never stop talking. Never stop talking. Always get it out there, right?" And he said he took that to heart, and he was like, it didn't matter what he was doing. He was cutting promos by himself in a car or wherever he was. He was talking and creating promos, and that's why he became so good at talking all the time. Because a lot of times his character talks a lot.
Yeah, he does.
And it's and that's probably what stands out a lot about him, besides his physicality. You know, the keep fighting, all of that. That's what makes him and Sami Zayn so fun, is they keep fighting. They're they're not the most athletic looking guys. They're not the strongest guys, but they have that keep fighting mentality. It's easy to root for them.
And that's another match that everybody needs to watch: the Usos versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, WrestleMania 39.
Fantastic, where Kevin and Sami won the titles.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is again another, the Usos have had them for a long time. It was time to let that go at that point. So I was happy to see it. That lead up to that was really good, and that was a fantastic match. Which, you could make the case. Jimmy and Jay are definitely on the list of greatest tag teams of all time.
Of all times, yep.
And to see that, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I believe that was the WrestleMania. Right before that is when I got back into the game. So I got to see that with Caleb, and we had a great time watching that. It was a lot of fun. So.
It's so awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get ready to round this thing up. We're Smack Talking Raw. This was our first episode. It's only going to get better from here. We're getting close to WrestleMania week, and this is my promo for everybody. Everybody, if you're not ready for WrestleMania 41, I got 2 words for you. Suck it. Let's go, baby.
I can't even follow that up. We'll see you guys next week. Love y'all, and we'll catch you next week.
Okay, we'll see you later, guys.